every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that?
Right.
Is that alright? Squashing your nuts.
Rex.
Okay. Oh.
Pop away. Nice top.
Rocks.
Yeah, that is. You wait for pop?
Fine. Roller coaster. There are handrails in front of you. So there's handrails in front of you towards the back. If you are travelling with small children, now's a really good time to prove how much you've done. Back to these seats are really quite hard. If they've got their hand back in the seat as much as possible. If you want to use cameras on your phones, you're welcome to do so. Just be aware that they like float. There are 4 stops, plenty of time for questions. Have any, just shout out. Armament is definitely going to see shout over that. Other than that, it should be okay. Is everybody comfortable? Yeah? Okay, Red Sea? Hold on to there if you want, Red Sea, yeah? So this is Brehon Tower. This is our first stop. This tower was completed in 1856. It was built by the English government, who at the time were a little bit concerned the French were planning another one of their semi-regular invasions. Now for a few hundred years at least, the English and the French argued, squabbled over who should own and control the Channel Islands. Eventually the English won out, which up until about 6 or 7 years ago didn't seem like the worst thing in the world. But the invasion they were expecting never actually came, so this tower has sat here for 170 years doing exactly what it's doing now, which is not. It's now definitely last winter there might be some openings starting to show as we go into this. The only real way to tell the difference between male and female seals. Now, we come this way around the island, and we will do a full look into it specifically for a couple of reasons. The first of that is that this rock and the rock behind it are the two furthest rocks away from human habitation anywhere in the bailiwick of Guernsey. So as far as these seals are concerned, they can live up here really quite happily without being disturbed. There's one in the water right without being disturbed too much. The other thing about this side of the island is there are two bays, one just down there and one in here, and the water current generally mountains. That brings fish in those currents. They can trap the bottleneck in the bays, so the seals can do what happens, hang out in there. So again, super efficient, a little bit like this. Now the other thing about this rock up here is the weather, because this is about as calm as it ever gets. Come here in January and February, there'll be waves breaking over the top of this rock. It's really quite stormy and violent up here. If you're a seal pup, you're born in September, October, you're going to be 14 kilos and a foot long, and for the first 3 or 4 weeks of your life you're not going to be water, so you have to stay on dry land as much as you possibly can. With a high tide, big storm, there isn't a lot of dry land up here, which is why they generally get washed up the rocks, separate from their mothers. If they're lucky, they're going to wash up on somewhere in Guernsey if you rescue them. If not, probably not going to make it through the first of their life. So we lose a lot more pups here than they do in other places where they've got big long beaches to lay out. As an example of that, in Yorkshire alone this year there are 4,000 seal pups born. We've had 10. 5 of them are with GSPCA at the moment. 2 of them definitely didn't make it. None of them. There are 2 pups up here which are 9 weeks old. They're really quite late births. And then there should be one more somewhere, but no idea. That's that right there. So, yeah, I mean, the reason the rock, I'll go into that in a second. There is another seal here on the right side, just on that very flat rock. So as we go around that corner, you can see many books. But as far as what these seals eat,
Oh yeah.
basically,
Oh yeah. Big one there. Down there, ring.
they'll start as small bait fish, things like sand eels, all the way up to big tuna. They'll eat harbour horses and some fish. They will eat squid,
Yeah.
octopus, crabs,
We'll get 'em.
seaweed, and some cases, seaweed as well. Generally, it's further south. Up here,
Yeah.
I mean, they come up here about 8 times a day on a busy day, so they're kind of used to us. A heavier boat or noise will potentially scare them. Luckily, up here, they do sort of get scared of the rocks. They can pretty much get straight back onto another one, if you get in a different position. But yeah, generally, luckily, I mean, most people don't know near this place have opened a lot. You'll see that one is directly from the bow of the boat, the one that's on the top. Again, they can misjudge the tide sometimes. 10 feet of tide, if they get on their rock nice and early, maybe 15, 20 feet out of water, no idea how to stop them. Yeah, they can stay out of water for a long time before they start to overheat.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them. There's one on that flat section, one in the middle, and then
White one?
one on the side.
Oh yeah, I see one on the right hand side.
Not necessarily. So once they've been on the rocks for a period of time, the salt that's in their fur, which is 2,
There's 2.
will actually dry and encrust. So they get lighter throughout that period. If they've been on the rocks for 10 hours, they tend to be much, much lighter by the end of it. That's why it's very difficult to actually know for sure what it is that looks.
2 there.
If you saw a brand new pup, a couple of weeks old, it would be pure white.
Oh yeah.
But that coat gets molted very quickly. Again, down there, they do have preferred rocks as well, so they will generally sit in sort of the same place. But a lot of these rocks are suitable for, like this one here is used to sat on. It's really suitable, it slopes. So if they do need to get into the water quickly, they can use it to slide. If they are females that are looking to give birth, they'll be looking for a big flat plain with lots of area to move around, because when they give birth, they can rolling around and moving a fair bit. There's a sleeping one down there, that kind of nose sticking out of the water. They do sleep in the water if they don't get enough sleep on the rocks. They'll hang down vertically and just leave 9 inches their nose above the waterline. That allows them to basically just nap. And then if they want to sleep for longer, they can actually go down into the sea and either wrap themselves up or wedge themselves under a rock. That'll mean that they can sleep for about half an hour.
Yeah.
They can do the same thing that dolphins do. They can switch off.
Yeah.
Slightly smaller one, so it's making its way down the side. You look right into the back. Possum. It's quite curious. She's also quite different. She's kind of just eye line above the water.
Oh yeah. Got it in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the one that is over to this right hand side by the two rocks. We've got the slopes closest one there.
Another two there as well. Look. And that two there and two
We
there.
had one turn up. Oh, there's one on this one that comes on the rock. So if you look where the big fat one is, and if you look down at the waterline, it's a small greyish one. Just wiggling around on the water. That community one. Yeah, so we had one turn up a couple of weeks ago. Was really quite interested in the boat. She kept coming close and approaching us. Couldn't figure out why. And then when she got close enough, one time realised she'd been tagged. So she was rescued in Cornwall, released a couple of weeks ago. I think it was the same one. And then she's made her way down here. So she's only about 4 or 5 foot tall. And she's managed to make her way all the way down here.
Oh, they're here.
Yes.
The pup is just about to disappear behind that end box as well. These markings that you see on the female there, they are individuals each seal and they stay with them for their whole life. Even if you shave their fur off, those patterns are still on the skin. And it means if you know those markings, you can basically identify seals as to who they are.
See the big white one there. There's a big white one there. And there is one.
Mm. Yeah.
They can hold their breath for 45 minutes, maximum to dive down to around about 6 or 7 minutes. They have the most sensitive whiskers. So they can actually feel vibrations moving through the water.
Are we feeling on the right?
About
Is that up?
They-
chase things through the water.
Oh, there's 2.
They can put on about 10 kilos a week from the time they're born. So in that first month, they can almost triple in size. And after 3 or 4 weeks, they're going to be almost essentially completely independent. They're able to hunt by themselves. They might not necessarily stay anywhere near their mothers.
Oh wow. Well done,
Cross spotted Rex.
This is about
Well done.
obviously
Eyeball Paul and Double O Dave.
normally it's around.
It's 3 here, eh?
The male's got big nostrils and they snort water at you when they decide to. The other thing about them is their eyesight is the reverse of ours. So if you stick your head under water and you're below, these guys, as they come above the water, they lose some of the detail in their eyes, in their eyesight, and that means that they have to be about 10 or 12 feet away before that detail starts to come back in. Quite gently, they'll stay at 10 feet away because they'll just about know what we are. And know one, to speed them, and 2, we're not going to cause them any trouble.
There he is.
Hello.
See them both?
The other thing this propeller is stirring the water underneath, so any fish that might
Oh, they'll come.
they will perhaps get scared out. The seals will basically just follow us.
Oh, is it?
Fish.
Oh, that's not.
We've run out of seal time, so we're going to move on down to the south through those islands. We are going into some deep water on the left hand side, so we are on the Gulf So the seals are all year round? Yeah. The males will leave and go off and mate in different places, but generally the females will be around. So this is the east coast of Herm Island, and that little stretch of sand you can see there is the world famous Shell Beach, or at least it's been known as the world famous Shell Beach since the 1950s. And the reason for that is that back then, with the advent of affordable air travel, the English government realised they were going to start losing a huge amount of money in tourism to places like the Caribbean. So before the Second World War, most of the English tourists would have come down to these islands and spent most of their holidays and their money down here. As we come out of the Second World War, lots more planes around, it's a lot easier to manufacture them, so people could afford to fly a little bit further. So they heavily advertised Herm Island itself, but more specifically that beach there, as an alternative to the Caribbean. Now, if you've ever been to Jamaica or Barbados, you may not think this is much of an alternative, but on the right day, it can be really quite a nice place. You get 2,000 or 3,000 people who will come over in their own boats or on the ferry.
Did he? Yeah, I'm looking at it.
So this coast in front of us, more specifically this little cove we'll see in a second, it's been known as Puffin Bay for a long time. Obviously that's because this is where our North Atlantic puffins return from their winter of isolation out on the North Sea, the North Atlantic, up around Iceland and Greenland, where they basically just sit on the surface of the water for the winter. They don't do it. They fly back down here at the start of April with the sole intention of their puffin up to full health, till it's old enough, healthy enough, big enough to fly in March. So they're not here for a huge amount of time. No, we don't get a huge amount of birds either, about 25 or 30 pairs. So what surprises most people about puffins, they're really big. They're about the size of a cricket. It does make spotting difficult in some places. But the poorer coastline, they'll lay their egg about a metre deep, where it's generally safe from any predators. And this horizontal crack you can see in front of you, right next to the boat there, is home to about 5 or 6 different puffin burrows. We know that because you'll often see them just stood on the end of the track, where they can stand fully head to toe without banging their head. So we're going to just swing through there and see if we can back before we start looking elsewhere. But that ridge above is really quite important to these birds because the pufflings are going to come out of their burrow for the first time in about a week, and they're going to hop off that cliff, look over the edge, and then they're going to jump off it and try and figure out how to fly on the way down. No one teaches them how to do it. They just it's just a natural instinct to learn how to fly. Now they weigh about 75 grams, so if they don't get it right the first time, they can pretty much glide down and try again. If you want an R moment, that herring gull you can see, if you just look to the right hand side of it, it's probably got, well, we think he's got a chicken. I think I can just see it tucked in the corner, big fluff ball. Sometimes he kind of hops around, but that herring gull's been sat there for about 4 weeks. They may do a loop and then pull up into their burrow and then make it sat in the water. So normally what happens when you see two birds, any number of birds around is one half of every pair. There's always going to be an adult in that burrow until the chick leaves. So these guys will basically be 2 males, 2 females. They won't be a pair of birds.
So the puffins?
Yeah.
To look after their chick, they will go fishing when they get tired. And for their size, they are really quite dive down to 125, 30 feet. And they can hold their breath for a minute. Water, you consider them then about the size of a the size of a football fully inflated. Most humans aren't comfortable underwater after a while. So these guys do really well. The beaks are specially adapted as well to help with those hunting trips because they need to be able to swim through shoals with these fish, which can swim at 20 miles an hour. And they backward facing barbs on the roof of the beak allow them to basically catch a fish, pin it to the roof of the beak, and then open their beak again. That fish can't escape, so they can then get another one. They usually come up with about 8 or 9 hanging out the side of their beak. But the world record is allegedly 62. Which I find very nice. So that's according to the Guinness Book of World Records. The other thing about their beak is that it's the shell, essentially. The bit that you're used to seeing is just the shell. It grows over their normal beak and it will drop off at certain points throughout the year and then regrow. If you get close enough to a puffin, you'll be able to age it from the amount of ridges at the top of the beak. The coloured sections are probably the most special part, though. There's greens and yellows and purples and oranges. Individual to every bird. And technically they glow in the dark as well, because these birds can see a range of UV light that we can't. So for them, they can identify, when they go down to that dark burrow, the puffin that's in there can identify its parent from those glowing packs on its nose and know that it's safe to eat from them.
A lot smaller than I thought.
Yeah, everybody says that. It's funny because when you see them up on the cliff, they look absolutely tiny. When you're in the water next to them, they sort of, maybe a small pigeon, but they're not large birds at all. And again, what you're seeing there is the bulk of them is just their chest muscles. That's where they get the name from, puffing out their chest basically. But those chest muscles power those wings, and they swim faster than they fly. So really powerful, strong chest muscles. Not a lot of other sort of equal weight on them anywhere else. Just as a addition to all of this, they are an endangered species. The numbers are lower and lower every year in most places. Skoma is pretty much the last stronghold, it's got 25,000 pairs. They survive off of things like sand eels and small bait, which for millions of years has been absolutely fine until we decided we were going to take them out of the water instead. Sand eels end up in things like fish paste and catfish. There is no domestic cat on the planet, and of course. So why we're feeding them? But as we take more and more fish out, these birds find it harder and harder to feed and then reproduce. So, given the way the numbers are at the moment, these birds probably have about 12 years left in this colony before they're probably. And also, just to add to that, they eat in Iceland. For some unknown reason, there's absolutely zero meat for those chest muscles, but they still eat it as a delicacy.
Good.
So we call that place Puffin Bay, but obviously the Puffins are just going. So as we drift past, you can see some options.
Yeah. Oscar.
Welcome back to beautiful, just in case anybody doesn't know what the county border there on the left hand side. There's been a fort on that rock out here, which used to be out here all by itself. Well, it's about 800 years, much smaller to start with. It grew over the years with the French invasion. And then the Nazis came along in the second one, almost concrete before them. During the English Civil War then, of course, it was occupied by one side, now it's occupied by the other. Without much else to do, they just spend all day firing cannons. It sounds kind of ridiculous, but you spend too long on an isolated rock. Now we are going to come in on the same pontoon that we got on board the boat house. We need to just tie the boat up to the step in place in the back. So if you can stay seated until you've done that, Dan will let you know when he's happy to come off the boat and then pack up the van, take the jackets and like that. If anybody's put any phones and pockets or jackets down, you can see it. If want to come back and do another trip with us this summer, I've got £5 Dutch.
like this.
Yeah. I spotted a jellyfish. It had 3 lines. It had
Yeah, wave.
like a funny thing. I like that
Eyeball pull.
jellyfish. It looked like a funny thing, but on the top it was like a